Well, hello. My name is Ken Osness. I'm the Vice President of Franchise Development at the Belfor Franchise Group, and I'm here today with some folks from our wonderful plumbing brand called Z Plumbers. And sitting next to me here is Matt O'Rourke, who's the president of our brand. And Matt, you've invited a few great people over here to be with us today. Maybe you could give us a little bit of intro on each one of them.
I did, absolutely. So Stephen Piazza joined us this month at the beginning of the month. Went through training, got a chance to learn more about his business. He's been a master plumber, plumbing contractor for quite a few years, and I'll let Stephen tell his part of the story here in a second. Okay. Next, we have Brian Franks, Brian is a new, I should say, a newer plumber, but he's been in the business now for about 6 months to 7 months now. Okay. Although he's been part of the Z Plumbers family for quite a while, and good friends with Scott Hart, who's another franchisee of ours that we'll meet later. And then Lindsay, who is part of Brian's team down in the Toledo market. Lindsay's a new apprentice plumber. So she's got a great background in welding and in the trades already, and has taken the leap of faith to become a plumber. And Brian's fantastic at bringing people on board. And Lindsay actually was part of a tenant of a property owner that we do a lot of work for. Huh. Mm-hmm. So customer, Brian brings them on, and this is the second employee that is part of the Z Plumbers family that Brian has serviced at home as a customer. Mm-hmm. And through the system, they joined us because they loved what Brian brings to the table. So it's pretty cool.
I'm gonna guess that women being in plumbing is not a super common thing.
Oh, you would be surprised. It's not common at all. But however, we have two women plumbers, apprentices in the Z Plumbers family. So we're really excited about that. I think this year, 2021, is we're going to see a lot of changes. And I think we see that in who we have here today. Stephen is a new construction plumber, I should say, coming up through the trade, right?
Yeah, coming up through the trades, I started out green, 20 years old, new construction plumber. You know, we used to kind of joke that you had two different plumbers you had, and it's not really a joke. You had the new construction plumbers, or were the tough guys, and then the wimpy service guys. So.
I have not heard of that one.
No, we used to do it all the time, you know. Well, then what's funny is it's kind of opposite, is what I've learned over the years, is actually the service plumbers know a hell of a lot more than the new construction plumbers. Because coming from new construction, I had to teach myself service, and that was very hard because, you know, even as a master plumber, I had never done drain cleaning, you know, so going into service, I had to learn drain cleaning as a master plumber. I never learned 3-handle valves. Everything was single handle. I didn't know too much of urinal, or, you know, like Sloan valve, as easy as it is, replacements, you know, intimidating things. So going into business for myself, after the housing crisis, I turned into doing service plumbing and had to learn all these things. And I trained myself to learn them, but, you know, it was different.
It's different.
It's very different. It's not like...
It's almost like you're taking an installation or the code in a lot of ways, and now you're trying to teach yourself like a mechanical aptitude that you didn't really necessarily know you had.
And even in new construction, when you installed something, you necessarily, like, let's say an apprentice, you can put a faucet in, 100 faucets in, but you really know what's inside it to replace it.
Right, and how it works.
So that's how it works. And that's what a lot of all service is.
Mm-hmm. It is, and what's really interesting is I do feel like the leap into service is a lot, once you understand that, it's a lot easier, because now as a new construction plumber, you can almost see, like, you have x-ray vision, right? Because you see how it's installed. Where a lot of service plumbers you'll find, or that I see and met, and I'm sure Brian can attest to this, it's much harder to find out where all that stuff is in the walls, right? Or how it was installed.
You know, the problem that I have with that is that usually it's been gone over by 3 or 4 different plumbers throughout the years, and everybody has a different idea of what's right and what's wrong. And then that's when you come in as the new service plumber and say, okay, what am I gonna do to solve this issue? Everybody else beforehand, to me, at least what I've been seeing, has been band-aiding or just trying to please the customer and get by. Whereas Z Plumbers, as a service person, will solve their issue, and that's ultimately our goal.
And to your guys' point, so I look at plumbing in 4 categories, right? So you have the retail plumbing or the service side of plumbing, and then I do separate drain cleaning, cabling, opening, then plumbing, because you'll find there are drain companies out there that only do drains. You know, they don't have a license, they're not the licensed plumber, but they still are doing drain cleaning, because a lot of licensed plumbers don't feel that they should be doing drain cleaning. And it's pretty interesting because yes, having a clogged drain, getting that water to go back down, that understandably a drain opener or drain company can do that. But what happens when that fails? And now you do, by code and by state governing, you have to be a licensed plumber to now repair that piping. So it's very interesting, because we all know the drain companies can create more issues because they're not aware of the plumbing system, right?
Now, even as a new construction plumber, with that being said, is, well, you focus on inside the dwelling. So as a new construction coming into your background, you're never really worried about the main and the sewer.
Right.
I've actually learned more through Z Plumbers and all that.
Right.
Than I have, just in my own time, and even my own service business before I had Z Plumbers.
I started paying attention to more of the whole plumbing system in whole.
But just through the training here too as well. So.
Fantastic. Well, we'll get into training a little bit, because obviously with Lindsay being brand new, it's going to be interesting to see how you go from, you have a very good foundation with welding, so you kind of know how to do that kind of part of the trade, even though it's starting to fade away, but hopefully we'll bring that back. And then we have the new construction plumbing side. And then finally, I do consider trenchless technologies, cured in place pipelining, and excavating is part of the plumbing system. It is pretty interesting throughout the country how some municipalities, some states require a plumber to be licensed to do that work. Then some excavators can do that outside work, like you were mentioning, or pipe layers. And when you're in service, I find a lot of service plumbers don't really realize or understand why you have a cast iron in the older homes and then it's all of a sudden clay. Well, when you look at the plumbing code says that within 30 inches of the foundation, you have to be a licensed plumber. So that's where you get that separation from inside. So it's pretty crazy how you can tie it all together, right? So
I'd be curious to hear Steve's story a little bit in regards to already having a successful business, been around for a while, successful plumbing business, and then for some reason you said, I want to join up with these guys and join this franchise after not having any connection to any kind of franchise.
So actually, basically, through even before COVID, I was looking into franchise, and frankly, I was just getting burnt out, just doing everything myself. And I says I either gotta close up or find someone smarter than me. So and a better business model. I haven't been in business for 10 years, but it's just been this way. I need to go this way. So, the greatest story is I just did an internet search and I saw the Z Plumbers trucks and and the Belfor company, and I thought, oh, Belfor got smart. They got a plumber to do all their work because they're tired of paying plumbing prices.
We all thought that.
I was like, that's smart, and then when I was actually looking into our franchise and I did a search and I saw that Z Plumbers was a franchise, and I was like, wow, okay, let me talk to him. And I called Joe, and then the process of, and I called Joe, then Joe said, hey, let's meet with Matt, and it was just so, and I even had a business coach at the time, and he went over it, and we looked over everything, and, I had an attorney, we had all these advisors, and everybody kept saying, this is a really good thing. They're like, this is almost too good to be true, honestly, and I was waiting for the catch. Never really had a catch, and then when we came to meet the team day and we met everybody, and then I looked over all the stuff, and then just with the way everything was presented, just the training, the knowledge, and there was so much stuff just talking, just meeting Matt and Joe and just talking about the business in general and just the little tidbits. I could have actually, just from what I learned talking to them, could have already bettered my business. And I thought, well, just I can learn just from talking to them better my business if I sign on to them and all this training and everything. And it's exactly everything I thought it was. There's no catches, the cost to get into and everything was up front, and there's no craziness. And it's been the best decision I've ever made as a business owner. There's so much more opportunity I have, I even have something that is equity and worth it, because that's one thing we talk about a lot of old plumbers, when they go away, they go away. Now I have a system in place to where anyone can be in here and go with it. And if, I get hurt or get sick or something, everyone's still protected and the business still runs as normal and I'm okay. And that's one of the main things that I don't think people understand, the security in having a franchise, like the security in having a franchise, that the fact that even, let's say, something can happen and somebody can come in there and you can still do well without having to find 100 people, someone else that you're going to trust to come in and do it. The system's in place to succeed.
Absolutely, and then especially in the plumbing industry. I mean, I think when you tie that support along with the industry that we service and that we're a trade in, now it's unbelievable. Because even through the COVID and the housing market, you were able to transition, right?
Yeah, exactly.
New construction starts to go down, but even though it's not necessarily the same vertical, you're able to transition.
Right, and just the training of even being, in my 40s, Master Plumber, having a business, even the training I went through is so valuable. I don't care if you had a business for 25 years, you will get something from the training. You will learn a lot. And it's a bit, and just have, there's smart people here. And I give Matt a lot of credit. He knows a lot of things about a lot of plumbing. There's a lot of things I learned in training that I didn't even know how they worked. And high-rise building stuff and just all these interesting facts. And that's valuable. The fact that being a business owner, you have someone you can pick up the phone and call and ask a question to and you can get an answer, that's invaluable. You can't put a price on that.
We'll appreciate that. So Brian, how do you feel? Because now you're coming into the trade from the military, right? So tell us a little bit about your military background.
Yeah, so the way that I came into Z Plumbers was just a little bit different than you. I've been in the military for 11 years. I just got out in September, and I was a pipe fitter, a fueler for the Army. And we established miles and miles of pipeline to generate fuel. So I had a little idea of what was going on. But I had, when I actually got out, or just prior to me getting out, my good friend Scott Hart is the franchisee owner of Ann Arbor. And I've worked with him. So I worked with Scott after my military career. I joined his crew and I worked in the Ann Arbor area for 3-4 years before I was offered this opportunity and started thinking about being a Z Plumbers franchisee. And then I started working with my property management groups, the residents in the area, and found out that I can make it down there. So I pulled the trigger and got to talk with you and Joe as well, along with Scott. There's just been, like you were saying, it's just an easy transition and an easier way when somebody's communicating to you all your needs. So I had my specific needs that I wanted. I wanted some reassurance. They gave it to me. Everything was up front. It's almost identical to what you say. I haven't had any hiccups. Since I've been working in August, I've been not a day goes by without getting calls on my board. I mean, it is such a fantastic place to work for. The military helps me with this company because of my mindset, overcoming adversity, a lot of different things that, I live in Michigan, but I work in Ohio. So, I have a big drive. I have to focus and concentrate on every single job or, the whole aspect of things. And, I have now, it's easy for me to do, or a lot easier for me to do, because I have those resources at my hand. One thing that the Z Plumbers franchise group has given me is the availability. I have hundreds of phone numbers and contacts that I can reach out to for anything from supplies to finance to payroll to you name it, just a simple questions that can be answered in a matter of minutes, through an email, through a text message. It's relatively easy now.
Well, Brian, I think your story is exactly what I hope to see in the trade. Because I think a lot of business owners and plumbers have experience having good people on their team, and then those people leave for what they imagine is a better opportunity. And I think trying to create that culture where you can help our team grow and open up their own businesses while still within the umbrella of the Z Plumbers family will help all of us be able to provide that opportunity for our apprentices. So Lindsay, being fairly new, I mean, how long, tell us how you guys met and how long it's been, because.
So it's been 2.5 months.
Okay.
Not very long at all. I met because Brian was servicing my apartment. He was doing some drain cleaning. I had just gotten out of a temporary welding job, and I had mentioned that I needed some work. And Brian, being so personable and everything, very friendly, very talkative, kind of sold me on plumbing. I watched him do the service. It was incredibly easy to understand for me. I felt like a connection to it, honestly, especially the way he would describe it. So yeah, I kind of was coaxed into into plumbing, and I don't regret it. Yeah, so we met on a service call, and I haven't looked back since.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's been wonderful.
Brian is awesome at that educating, and that's what we really focus on. And I think
one thing to piggyback what Brian said too is when I was doing the things to get involved in the franchise, and he was kind of part of that, was that the passion the franchisees that I talked to, Scott, Brian, even Tony in the main office, the passion that I could see in their voice when they talk is exactly what was like, okay, this is real. Because they all have a lot of passion and pride in it, and then that's something that really struck me.
I think it's the passion derives from a lot of this opportunity that you guys are presenting to us. It makes me happy. It makes me want to go to work. It makes me want to help my customers and my clients out.
And in turn, it trickles down to me, the apprentice. I see Brian doing his thing, being really excited about work every day, being really good at his job, problem solving. And then I'm kind of picking up that. It makes me want to come to work and work really hard for him.
It's gave me new life. I was dead in plumbing. I hated it. I don't want nothing to do with it no more. And then this is like a new opportunity to like feel like I can grow. I feel like I can do all the things I ever wanted to do with a team behind me. And that's amazing.
Speaking of team, I was going to ask kind of both of you, talk about, there's a lot of people in business period these days, particularly service businesses or restaurants, right? There's unemployment insurance, or we're having a hard time finding employees, and yet in plumbing you got the added certifications and plumbing license, all those different types of things. Tell us a little bit about how you aside from getting Lindsay from a job that you were doing, how does it go for you in terms of finding other staff members and as you grow and add trucks and those type of things?
Well, I think right now it's luck of the draw. You need to do your research. You need to, as a business owner, you need to reach out to people. You need to make connections.
You're creative.
You have to be creative.
It's not easy.
We definitely have, the thing of saying there's not a lot of tradesmen isn't a BS. It's real.
It's real.
So now we're coming with opportunities for young people to get in, and we're, even Z Plumbers is developing, an ongoing development of how do we get young people in here and how do we train them properly. And I think that's the key. You can, it used to be like, hey, you're going to ride around for 5 years or something. Now with the training elements we have here, I mean, we can streamline that process a lot easier.
You bring
there's certain things a young person can do that you don't need a master plumber to do, but he has to understand that he has that assistance to where if he runs into something and the customer has to understand that if they run into something that there is going to be a supervisor, master plumber there to do it, to get it done right.
To get it done.
So we're coming up with creative ways to help everybody, the young people in the trade, the business owners. We're giving people an education and a career is how we're trying to do it.
Right.
So.
that's what helps out, because there is a generational gap of service plumbers and new construction plumbers. There's just a generational gap. It comes from our parents telling us, you better go to college, Lindsay. I tell lots of my clients that because we have, abundance of work, and, sometimes calls take a little bit longer and get backed up. Everybody knows that. But if they understand that, they have a shortage of, plumbers, and it's just a generational thing, because when I was growing up, I can speak for myself, my parents said, you better go to college. If you don't go to college, you're not gonna have a good job.
Right.
Well, I go to college and I wind up going to the military anyway. So, and then I became a plumber. But a lot of these people listen to their parents and they go and get their desk jobs, and that's why we're having this lack of, and it's not just in the plumbing aspect, it's electrical, it's heating and cooling.
Oh, it's all over. And
it's all over.
We entered about the same time, right? So I think the difference is, it's not necessarily college is a bad thing or the trades, it's education. The more education you have, no matter what it is, you're gonna be a better person.
Well, that's what I like, Matt, about this franchise is because you train the new people coming up. Because if we do have a generational gap and we don't have these, or if all these service plumbers are tied up with other companies, how are we gonna get our people in here? Well, we have to train them, and you're providing that service for me.
Yeah, right.
I also
How can we go wrong?
I also feel like as the universe works is once people see what's going on here, even you don't have to like headhunt people. They're going to see a culture here.
Yes,
exactly.
And they're going to gravitate towards it. So we might be having a little issue now with things, but as Z Plumbers grows, and this, because the system's all the same, a lot of guys that are in these bad companies are going to see that, and they're just going to track just by the culture here.
Right.
Lindsay, what do you kind of echoed almost like an amen to that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Brian recruited me and I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And it hasn't stopped being positive since I started working for Z Plumbers. So that's what's going to keep me, is the continuing education. He's still learning. Mm-hmm. He's working with me hands-on, it's a very different culture here. And it's very charismatic. So it definitely draws me in. It's going to keep me.
That's great to hear from Apprentice that to hear.
The energy is wonderful. Yeah.
Right. And I think, Stephen, there's no question the Belfor opportunity, right?
Right.
I mean, same thing, when I being part of the Belfor world, being close to the headquarters, I mean, we grew up with Belfor in the plumbing industry, right? And so when that call came to me, then it's a no-brainer. I mean, this is going to explode. I mean, to have an opportunity as a plumber to partner with somebody and be a part of the family of the general contracting, and helping other people, it's like, all right, this is that opportunity that in the plumbing industry we've been looking for. And I do think and hope that other plumbing contractors are out there that feel like you're in the rat race and don't know how to get ahead. They need to get a hold of us, because it is coming down to training, educating, and inspiring young people to get into the trades. And this is the first time in my career, the first year I'd say, where parents are actually calling us saying, where do I get, how do we sign up? Mm-hmm. And it is hard because we need a good mix of experienced plumbers and the apprentices, right? You can't just, we can't just flick a wand and say, okay, go out and start plumbing. It's
a safety thing. You still have to know what you're doing. It's not like hiring crew. You gotta, running whatever. You have to have, you have to have skills to do this. You can't just hire someone and in 2 months here you go. You have to have plumbing knowledge. Be trained for it.
Right. Yeah.
And even being a business owner, this is kind of a different franchise, because you still have yes, you can be a smart business guy, but you still have to have the talent with you and back them, but you can't come into this not knowing plumbing and not
So speak to that though. So you're an entrepreneur, right? Business owner, and then you're a plumber too. Speak to how how do you separate that? How do you compartmentalize the differences?
That's a really tough question. Actually, until I got here. Honestly, when you're in a business, your law of the lid, your lid's only so high because you have to do things. You have to be the man. Like, and then you get to a point to where you don't think you're micromanaging, but you are, because if you don't do it, you don't feel like anyone else can do it. Oh, I can only do this.
Right.
So I can only do this. Oh, he can't. I can only do that. And so you don't have time to work on your business.
Right.
You're just the business.
Yeah.
You might get a guy or two, maybe if you're lucky, maybe three. Maybe there's some guys that can do it, but honestly, 85% can.
Right.
Because and until you can actually separate yourself and realize that I know I'm a good plumber, but I'm also an entrepreneur, and that's why I gotta find. You need. The hardest part is finding the people that can allow you to step back, right? So you need, in order to take the calls. Like me and Brian are going through that now a little bit, So you have to find the people in order to step back, and then once you can step back is when you can grow twice as fast, because now you can work on your business. But the most challenging part is you need to find at least two guys that can do it. You can do it, not what you can do, but you can do.
Right.
Can do plumbing smart enough to where you can be there to back them, and then you can work on it.
And empower them to make those decisions.
Exactly.
Right. I mean,
But
time
with
management.
the training we have here, though, and it's the great thing is it's not just a one and done training. If you see something going on and you just got, you set up someone, you could be 20-year-old plumber, but you see that there's a miss there, you can send them down here and we'll have a workshop, and it's great. It's amazing.
You can catch it. I mean, time management and delegating. I mean, those, I think a lot of plumbing business owners, they're coming from the trades. We're problem solvers, right? We're focused minded. Let's fix the problem. Time management and delegating is a whole new world for a lot of people. And that is where having the young apprentices be a part of that. So that way, as you're going, you start to learn that side of the management too. Because I think that's one thing.
How often do you hear me talk about time? all the time.
Plumbing, you'll never have enough time.
It's
Never.
Gonna be a very telling time in our industry because of the way people are retiring and the way people. I mean, it's almost as if you're either gonna have people working for somebody, or I almost have a theory that the one guy in a truck might not be around for a long time because there's just not enough of those people yet, and then and they're going to realize that they'll do it and then they'll go back to work because it's what the market is.
And I think COVID definitely accelerated that.
Exactly.
Because I think a lot of those plumbers in a truck, with all the CDC guidelines, all the additional steps and the protocols and procedures, I think that exhausted them.
Couldn't.
I mean, it was,
Can't
keep up
they
with
don't
it.
have a team behind them, and you just, like me, I'm just falling to the abyss like you at one point. You need that, and that's what's great about the franchise is you have that team around. Even like you've done it to me, if you see someone struggling, you call up on the phone and be like, hey, we'll take a deep breath, what's going on? You know what I mean? and that's so valuable to somebody. I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, it's funny because I see all these people before me, and I knew a lot of people in a truck that just were just beat up and exhausted, and just like I actually have a new life. I'm not so beat up or exhausted. I have a regimen. I know what I can do, and I bounce a lot of things off you, or we try to, we work on things together. And it's nice just to have that outlet.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of plumbers out there who are struggling in business, they're managing call centers. You got that phone ringing. I mean, now you have a dispatcher, and now you have office managers and accounting people and marketing people. And being a plumber, that can get overwhelming when you really take a step back and look at all the different things that go into business. Because again, we are entrepreneurs now, we are leaders, and we have to inspire people, but we haven't ever started a call center and train call center people and answer that phone, and the phones don't stop. I mean, people need plumbing 24/7, right? So I think having the team to be able to share those ideas with, right?
What are some of the things Matt mentions, the call center, being able to have calls coming in? Is there some 24 hours a day if you get a call? Is there somebody to take that so you don't have to?
Oh, I can delegate, Lindsay to call my clients up. I can call my clients up. I can have my office personnel call up the clients. The good thing with the Belfor call center is I know immediately when I get that call, and then that's when I can delegate what happens with that call. It's easy.
On a local level, it's even easier because you can have, if you can't get to something there's usually someone that can. So that's actually very nice as well, because you don't have the call center itself is worth its weight in gold. Just to never have a call go to voicemail anymore. It'll actually change your life, because you'll see actually how many calls you're getting.
Speak to that, because it's frustrating, right? I mean,
Yeah, so Jason told me that today. He says, you get like triple the leads a week in North America, and they have 10 trucks and I have 2. So it's, I'm like, thanks, I really didn't want to hear that. But,
right? But it's exposed.
But it's, so there's so much opportunity in this business, and that's what I want young people to know, is there's so much opportunity in this business.
So Steve, not to hit on that sore subject, but you talk about growing, right? And you're at 2 trucks. So before this, what were you thinking as far as, what was the thought process?
Well, my thought process was, can I afford it? I can't afford it. I can't afford it. I'm going to do this. How am I going to, because me is just one person, right? I got to hire a guy. Now I got to make sure this guy is even good. I actually had a guy steal my truck one time.
Oh, no kidding?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I called the police, and then they wouldn't. They're like, did you let him use? I'm like, yeah, he works for me. Okay, we can't do nothing. So I had to go and drive around. He's like, I can't escort you there, so I had to drive around. And, oh my god! So that's what I mean. So, so with that,
getting big.
Growing.
Because the calls are there.
Yeah, so the calls are there. So now, actually, so when I learned the Z Plumber's way, there's a formula. And you can't be scared of the formula, and that's you can't be scared to grow. And the formula is like we said, if you can't get to the call within 2 hours, you need another truck. Right. And we determined I need 5 trucks. So I need 5 people. So if anyone watching this wants a job, please call me. So but I used to be scared of that, and then going over the numbers, because of the systems you guys have in place and the training you have in place, it showed me the way. Right. It just opened a whole new door. And now I'm driving my focus is to getting those trucks.
Because it's proven to work.
I'm not afraid of the money.
Brian's in a similar situation.
I'll keep spending it.
Right. Yeah, Brian's too much work.
Yes. Ample amount of work, and just need more, more employees, more trucks, just to accommodate for right now.
Right. But you're doing it right. You don't have to run. I mean,
that's right.
It's looking at the future the right way.
That's right. Let's build my foundation first. The calls will still be there. The industry isn't going away.
Right.
So the calls will be there. Let's build our franchise business first, and then we can start moving up. It's not going to take that long.
Right. Well, especially adding people like Lindsay.
Especially adding people like Lindsay, working with you guys. Absolutely.
Well, it's been amazing with all the brands that we have in our Belfor franchise group, and the years that I've been a part of the company, which is 16 plus years. As we brought on Z Plumbers, the first thing that people always the pain points that we saw was, well, how do you get plumbers? How do you get people who are qualified, or conversions like yourself, or guys coming out of the military like you, or people who are in welding like you say, I want to get in and do something. But more than any of our other brands, there's never really been a question for us on jobs. The number of our brands that it's like how do we help these guys go out and sell? How do we help people see the need for that particular kind of thing?
You don't need
and so everybody's kind of like, well, what are these guys going to be able to do? And it's just been funny to watch, to go, it's more like more people, more trucks. I mean, you guys haven't complained once about, well, I last week I only had 2 calls and I need to get out there and start knocking on doors and seeing if I get somebody. You're like, please stop.
Yes.
Uncle, I got too much work, too many calls coming in, and that's amazing.
I have one client of mine that owns several buildings down in Toledo, and they bombarded me with 40 calls in one day.
Which is awesome.
For you, maybe. It's great to have the work come in. Yes, but then that lets you understand, okay, the call volumes, the volume of calls, the volume of work. We need to do something.
It just really puts in perspective of how this industry needs people.
It's so large. It's so large.
We really want young people to explore this, because it's a damn good career.
Absolutely. And then doing it the right way.
And doing it the right way.
And you can do it the right way.
Yes.
It's
And
there's no reason.
especially working for a franchise, your opportunity is endless. Honestly, even if you start working for somebody, I can guarantee you that person will not want to lose you, and you will absolutely come up with a plan to make it work for everybody. To where,
Which that's where the providing that opportunity. Before we wrap this up, Lindsay, so I have 3 daughters, young girls. I want you to kind of, you're definitely coming into an industry that's male dominated. I mean, it's been that way for a long time. So
I apologize for that.
Yeah, right.
Oh, don't be sorry. It's my pleasure.
and I think in my whole career, I've had an opportunity to meet one female plumber, and I don't know if I've met too many owners that are female that are plumbers that own a plumbing business. How has it been getting into it, and how does the going to the supply houses, and how has that felt? I mean, can you go into that?
Sure, yeah. So like I said, I have been in the trades for a long time. And it kind of drew me, the fact that plumbing is a male dominated industry kind of drew me to it, to be honest with you. I enjoy kind of breaking barriers. I want to show other girls that like they can do it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be a big burly man. You can do hard work.
Right.
It might be a little gross at times, but if you're the right person to handle it, you can go do it. I definitely do run into obstacles being a woman in the trades. And those obstacles are, everything's fixable,
Right.
Like anything that emotionally, especially, I can't complain. I've never had a horror story happen. I've never had any form of discrimination directly to me. Everyone's been wonderful, especially Z Plumbers. You guys have been wonderful. But no, I mean, there are barriers, but it's kind of like if I feel very empowered being a plumber. I feel very proud of myself that I can fix an issue. I can stop water from leaking. I can install a new faucet, all this stuff. I can clean a drain. And that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I feel strong enough to take those barriers on.
It's funny too, because I had a short stint in nursing, so I was going to go that route before plumbing, and a lot of people would say it's a female dominated trade, right?
Yeah.
And it
Well,
is.
now I look at, I would say that was some of the grossest work I did. Right? Coming into plumbing, I mean, I did a lot of colostomy bags and a lot of weird stuff, and now I'm like, oh, this is not that bad.
Right.
So it's pretty funny when you think about it as far as being the gross way. Like we all have done, not everybody, but I mean, nursing is definitely in that same realm
Absolutely.
of grossness.
Yeah.
So very hard workers over there too.
And it's not like I've always been, into bugs or anything gross
Right.
or, interested in something like that. It's kind of more of just like an empowering feeling to be able
Very
to,
good.
deal with sewage,
Right.
stuff like that. Just being able to go into it, do your job, and when you're done, you just feel amazing after it. You fix the person's problem and
And
really
the
happy.
relief on their
with
faces.
you. Yeah.
I mean, truly, you are helping people. I mean, it is rewarding. And I like to think that being new and we do protect the potable water supply. So I think getting that passion, bringing that pride back into the trade, and plumbing is one of the oldest trades. I mean, it's been around forever and ever.
It's been really inspiring to hear all of your excitement, your passion, whether you've been doing this for a long time, a medium amount of time, but even longer with Z Plumbers for just coming into this. And I think out of this whole thing, aside from the excitement that you mentioned about the training and the support and the help, is we got a new slogan for our next ad campaign, which is Z Plumbers. It's a damn good business.
Right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So we won't give you any credit for that.
No, I signed the FTD.
Yeah, right.
Hey, Christ, you're gonna pay for ideas.
Right? Exactly.
Well, if you're looking forward to getting a new career, new business, you're looking to expand or overcome the problems like Steve was talking about in terms of, hey, I'm done with this business. I got to go do something else, and then being renewed and invigorated and taking care of the problems that you have as a plumber, then Z Plumbers might be a good fit, something for you to look at, and we'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to help you figure out whether this would be the right brand and the right company and the right future for you. So thanks for joining us today.